And we can stop our videos, and I'm going to play a commercial.
Okay.
So
crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die.
Welcome to the bottom of the bottom, me and seen the solemn. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Going to boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem, crazy goon and gone up that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we stuffing dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side. You know what the business is.
I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm a boss, I'm a I am a king on the throne and I'm running the kingdom with all my ability, using my strength and agility. Money.
Put your hands up, everybody know that. Don't hold back, got you on Kojak. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
Welcome to the bottom of the bottom, me and seen the solemn. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Going to boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem, crazy goon and gone up that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we scooping dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side. You know what the business is.
Been running fast, crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die.
Welcome to the bottom of the bottom. Me and Cena Solomon. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Gonna boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem. Crazy goon and gone off that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we scooping dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side. You know what the business is.
Put your hands up, everybody know that. Don't hold back, got you on go jack. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm a boss, I'm a I am a king on the throne and I'm running the kingdom with all my ability, using my strength and agility. Money.
Welcome to the bottom of the bottom. Me and Cena Solomon. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Gonna boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem. Crazy goon and gone off that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we scooping dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side. You know what the business is.
I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm a boss, I'm a I am a king on the throne and I'm running the kingdom with all my ability, using my strength and agility. Money. Been running fast, crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die.
Put your hands up, everybody know that. Don't hold back, got you on go jack. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We appreciate it. So we have our guest speaker here. We'll bring him on in a second, but he is, I'm so excited for you guys to hear from him. He's just a great wealth of information. My name's Saria. I'm the creator of Black Wealth Matters educational series. And I actually started this with a few of the people that you guys saw in the video. We started this in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. And the
Shut up, one of the devices, you're echoing like crazy.
oh, I'm echoing. Turn audio. Let me try to cut. So I'm hearing that I'm echoing, David. Let me cut your audio off for a second. Kiana, am I still echoing? Can you guys hear me now?
I can.
Okay, good. All right, perfect. Okay, can everybody else hear me now? Kiana, everybody can hear me except you. My business partner is in the office. I do not hear any echo, but Fabiana, do you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, we're most important. Okay, you guys. So, you guys, at the end of the day, right now, it's getting more and more clear that we have a big problem with systemic racism in America, and if you don't see the connection to poverty, there was a situation that happened yesterday in New York where a man was on the train yelling that he was hungry and he wanted food and water. And instead of, that's poverty, he was homeless, he was unhoused. And instead of someone getting him food and water, they murdered him, right? So I every time I see situations like that, I always look at it from a financial standpoint. So when I brought this up to my team, how George Floyd was murdered over $20, we wanted to research the area a little bit more, and we created this series. And this is actually our third year of doing a series. And this time we're tackling college sports. College sports is so lucrative, but unfortunately, athletes are not making money from that. So we're going to talk about that, and we've been talking about that. We've had 3 speakers to talk about it. Today is our 3rd speaker. But before we do that, I'm going to quickly just go over who I am and my company, because the financial sector is super important, and it's hard to navigate these conversations about wealth without having a conductor. It's hard to get from point A to B without someone guiding you. And right now in the financial sector, we do not have enough we do not have enough Black financial advisors to service the very important and special community that we have here in America for Black Americans. So we're Transamerica and World Financial Group, and what we're doing is we're helping people understand how money works through education. So today you're going to get just a really short snippet of who we are and what we do. But tomorrow I have a special class that's going to be all about taxes. And it's going to be about how to reduce your taxes and how to understand taxes, taught by a CPA. So our foundation is really education. So if you're interested in that, put your email in the chat room and I'll invite you to that this evening. So all we want to do, all we would like for you guys to do is really just ultimately spread the word about who we are and what we do. Get rid of that one. So as you're listening, just think about who you know that can benefit from this conversation. And if you're in a family where you have family members who are in the sports world, take notes. And Mr. David's website is actually on the in the chat. So keep that in mind and share that information. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create more entrepreneurs. And we're doing that through our company and our business opportunity. You guys, you're more than welcome to set about 20 minutes with me, and we can give you more information because I'm going to go through this really fast. But the long and short of it is there's a money problem. There's a financial education money problem. And unfortunately, it has nothing to do with what we're making. And what I mean by that is making money does not cure poverty. And if you are confused about that, you can think about people who win the lottery and how they are bankrupt in a few years. Think about athletes, since we're talking about athletes, and same situation, entertainers. It doesn't matter. And the financial stress that happens from a lack of education and lack of preparation can be detrimental. We have studies in the finance world about what happens when someone's retirement drops, when the market crashes, but no one has ever done a study about living paycheck to paycheck, which is what a lot of us are familiar with from systemic racism impacting our households. So we're a different kind of company, and we're targeting the middle income. Now, in the Black community, the middle income is the tide that lifts all boats, right? So what I love about this company is we're specifically creating financial independence for the middle income and abundance. And if you guys know families like our family, or like most people that I know, a lot of us give money away. So what we're trying to do is really strengthen our middle income so that we can have the abundance to give away, and not make it look like wealth. Because if you go on social media, wealth looks a little different. David, can you mute yourself for me? I'm almost done. And our first conversation when we sit with a family is always education. We're showing you the difference between stocks and mutual funds, capital gain taxes, how retirement accounts are taxed. And these things are important because no one's even teaching that. And just to go over a quick few basic concepts, the first one is going to be the rule of 72. So the rule of 72, you guys, is all about how to make your money compound and double. We need our money to compound and double. It's important. And the reason why is because here, if you're getting a 6% rate of return, and that means your money's going to double every 12 years. So if we start with $10,000 in 48 years, we have $163,000. It's okay, but we can do better. And not only can we do better, but we have to. And what I mean by that is credit cards are charging 25%, car loans 12%, student loans 6%, mortgages 3 to 7%. And sometimes people are like, well, you know what? I don't have any debt. It doesn't matter. Inflation is 4 to 6%, right? So right now, if your money's not making money, you won't be able to retire, because the way our system is set up, there's an abundance of debt. And time is always of the essence, meaning the best time to plan for your future is right now. There's a time value to money. And I know things are hard. I know that a lot of us are helping out family members, or we haven't gotten a raise and things of that nature. It's not lost on me, but we really got to do the best with where we are right now. We can't wait for anything different. And my favorite part about this conversation and being with this company is we talk about taxes. Taxes are very important when you think about planning. So the first thing that we want you guys to think about is looking at ways that you can earn money where you can manipulate taxes or reduce taxes or deduct taxes, right? Our wealthy are paying 3%, 5%, whereas everyone else is paying 28%. And if you're in the highest tax bracket in California, you're in a 51% tax bracket. So we're showing people, like tomorrow, you're going to get some tips if you're interested in hearing from an actual CPA on how to reduce your taxes. We're showing people how to actually reduce their taxes. But as financial professionals, you guys, we have products that actually allow your money to grow tax-free. And when we help someone, we look at all things related to money. And these are some of the companies that we work with. I know you guys have heard of some of these companies. But at the end of the day, you guys, in America, the two most lucrative industries are finance and tech, right? One of our top billionaires in America is a finance person. So there's no reason for more of us to not be in the financial sector. So if you have any friends or family and they're curious about it and they love things like, you know, the podcast and all these celebrities that are financial gurus, please introduce them to me, because I would love to meet them. And now what I would like to do is bring up our speaker, and I'm going to read his bio. So now, David, if you can unmute yourself and show your photo, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you so much. So in terms of David's bio, David is an attorney extraordinaire. He has over 2 decades of experience representing clients in the areas of intellectual property, corporate law, and sports and entertainment law. He's a graduate of the University of California, Hastings College of Law, where he was a member of the Communication and Entertainment Law Journal. Starting his career in entertainment law with 2 New York-based firms, McGriff has counseled and represented numerous companies in various stages of development, production, finance, and distribution of film and television projects. Oh no, we're on a writer's strike right now, Mrs. McGriff. So I know,
Yes. Very.
I know you have something to say about that. I'm sure I would love to hear it too. Mr. McGriff has been highly sought after by various artists to represent them in multiple facets of their artistic careers. McGriff represents the principal equity financier in the recapitalization of DreamWorks LLC. Mr. McGriff has represented either the financier or the production company as it relates to distribution or financing in over 40 films. In addition, he's negotiated the intellectual property and life story rights to several film projects, including one of my favorites, The Conjuring, Annabelle, and The Conjuring 2. Now, there's a lot, but I would love for us to just get straight to it. And Mr. McGriff, can you turn on your camera again or no? Perfect.
Well,
thank you. Thank you so much. Now, where are you originally from?
I was born in Los Angeles, born in LA, and my family moved to the Central Valley of California when I was in grade school. But I've lived my whole life in California.
Okay. Where did the New York firms come in?
When I was looking for a job, I thought I wanted to live in New York. So I took a lot of interviews with New York firms. And during the course of all of that, I met someone that kept me in California. So I took the job from the New York firm, but I started in the LA office of that firm.
Okay, got it. Now, tell us a little bit about what's going on in the entertainment world for the writers, and then we can flip over and start talking about the sports, which is also entertainment, just a different facet of entertainment.
Absolutely. It's all intertwined these days. Dealing with the strike, I mean, every once in a while, writers have to go on strike. It's happened a few times during my career. They always seem to get the short end of the stick when it comes to the entertainment budgets. You look at a budget for a film or a television show, and the camera in front of camera talent is always at the top, obviously, and then you have the showrunner, which is a writer, but he or she is an executive producer and running the show. They take a big cut, but then when you look at the staff, those folks unfortunately get a smaller piece of the pie. And really, that's what a show is dependent upon. It's the backbone of the show is the writing staff.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Will it impact you at all, or have you completely kind of gone into the sports world? Or
now it won't impact me much nowadays because most of my business is music and sports at this point.
Okay. All right, perfect. My husband's in the music industry. So now tell me what made you get into this world?
So the NIL world specifically, I've been in the sports world, most of my career. But the NIL world specifically, the issues that came up that affect NIL first appeared to me around 15 years ago when I was representing a young man who was a musician. He was a performer, he was a songwriter, and he was part of a larger family. They all had their different talents, their charisma, big personalities. So they were offered a reality show. And so when we were looking through the deal of the reality show, I was thinking that because the young man was also a basketball player, then I thought, well, maybe this may impact his amateur status because he's appearing on this reality show, even though the reality show would have very little to do with basketball. And it turns out it did. And prior to the NIL rule, an amateur athlete could jeopardize his or her status just by getting paid for use of his or her image or likeness. And so him appearing on this reality show with the rest of his family would jeopardize his status, even though his sister could do it, his younger brother would have no problem because they weren't athletes. That always struck me as arbitrary and unnecessary. And so you fast forward to as my career developed, I became more and more of an advocate for student athletes' rights, and both the name, image, and likeness rights, and also just getting paid for revenue generating athletes. I think they should get a revenue share of these huge contracts that these conferences are closing. I mean, the Big Ten just closed a media rights deal that gets them $1 billion annually. So it just made sense for student athletes to start taking share in this piece of the pie. I think it's been a disservice to these student athletes. And of course, it has affected Black student athletes, because you look at how many of our young men and women are in revenue generating sports, right? I mean, you look at what LSU just did in their run with Angel Reese and Floje Johnson. I mean, it was great to see. And I think that the next step beyond NIL, I know this conversation is primarily on NIL, but the next step is getting the revenue share for these student athletes for the revenue generating sports.
So I mentioned that we had two other speakers come on, and the first speaker was actually an expert in the college world itself. So he follows the paper trail of everything. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that the participation in the revenue share wasn't supposed to be the next step. It was actually the first step. The athletes were trying to unionize to get some of the revenue share. Did you have anything to do with that? And what was going on there? What started that, and where did it go?
Well, in California's past it's in traction to get that law passed. I mean, the idea is that athletes would have to unionize. There would be a collective bargaining agreement, just like you see in the NFL and the NBA. Which will set forth the rights of the student athletes that have joined the union. And in that respect, then they would have the ability to share in the revenue, but it needs to be very organized and structured. And a lot of people, the detractors, say that this is tearing up amateur sports, and the quality is going to interfere with people's enjoyment of the sport, which I don't see how it would.
Who are the people? Which people are they talking about? Same people that are impacted by reparations?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That one group, we can't have reparation.
So I'm just speaking of that. I tell you, whenever I post videos on NIL, I shout out my clients, as they go through their successes in their careers. And anytime I see somebody trolling me, or leaving a ridiculous comment, I can almost guess what their bio is going to look like when I
right.
There it is. I mean, it's right there, plain as day. Never fails.
Yeah, it never fails.
So there's a group of people that want things to stay the same, right? And unfortunately, some of those people that wanted to stay the same are the actual coaches that are making millions of dollars, and no one has talked about how much money that they're making. A lot of these coaches are the highest public paid employee in their respective state. I mean, Nick Saban is the most highly paid public employee in the state of Alabama by a long shot, and no one is talking about them. But this whole idea of student athletes finally getting some empowerment and some agency, threatens and scares some people, but it's the right thing.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of systemic racism. It's like, even what I've been noticing with the series, the more we do it and the more I talk to experts like yourself, there's this very American thing to do of being like a contrarian to anything that promotes and helps the Black community. Mm-hmm. It's apple pie. Right.
All those people that troll me on Twitter, they all have the American flag in their bio.
They do. It's a very American thing to do. And the reality is that they won't get any, like the highest paid person in Alabama, 9 times out of 10, it will not impact his salary, right, but he still wants to make sure that nobody else gets it.
Right.
It's a very interesting to do. So is there any logic behind the amateur? I don't even understand. I don't understand. I think people do better when they're compensated, but I don't understand what that has to do with anything. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, the revenue share would most likely be pretty autocratic, and to everyone would kind of get a pretty much equal share. I think the NIL, when that first rumblings first started that it was coming, I think people were concerned that it was going to break up team dynamics, because you'd have the quarterback making all this money and then the team not getting as much, and that was going to somehow affect how people played together, the teamwork and camaraderie, all those things. But it actually hasn't come to fruition in the first couple of years, because what people fail to, I think they underestimated these kids, and a lot of them are doing their part to share their notoriety and their exposure with their teammates. I had a client who was a star at UCLA basketball. He had a deal with Beats to get a personalized headphones, and he made sure that every one of his teammates got a set of headphones from Beats also. So that's not a unique experience. There's stories about that across the country. And so, a lot of the negative things that people predicted was going to happen with NIL just haven't happened.
Yeah. But I really like the idea of all the athletes getting paid the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
And then the athletes who are the stars will get the NIL difference. That would be the differentiating factor. I like that. I think that's awesome. And one of the things that I learned from one of our presentations was that in the month of March, the NCAA made $1 billion from college sports. Now, mind you, colleges don't pay any taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They pay their teachers so poorly that some of them literally are on government assistance during the summer. The students pay all these student loans.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the math is never mathing with colleges. And then they're fighting tooth and nail to not have these athletes get compensated. But meanwhile, no one says anything about these coaches. And I would go so far as to say the white coaches, because the Black coaches, I've never seen the same numbers there. We had Coach John Mosley from Netflix's Last Chance U as our last speaker, and he and I talked offline. It's not the same again.
Right. It isn't. Yeah. It always seems to be that disparity in wage and wealth that we are all way too familiar with.
Yeah. So what do you think is the way that it's going to happen? Do you think the athletes still need to unionize? Do you think that people like yourself need to kind of take charge of it? What do you think will be the way to actually get the corporations or the NCAA or these groups to share the revenue with the athletes?
I think it's going to be on, at least initially, on a state-by-state level, similar to how NIL first started. California passed the first NIL law, and then Florida passed theirs, and that put pressure on the rest of put pressure on the NCAA, put pressure on the rest of the country, and importantly, it dovetailed nicely with the case that was going through the Supreme Court, Austin versus the NCAA, in which the court found that it was arbitrary for universities to cap the amount of money that student athletes could get as just the tuition and, maybe a stipend for their housing and food. They thought that was arbitrary, and that this NCAA should not be able to arbitrarily put a cap on what student athletes receive, particularly when it came to their own name, image, and likeness. And so once that Supreme Court decision came down, NCAA was forced to put in this NIL rule, and then state by state, it came to be that more states allowed student athletes to monetize their NIL.
Okay, NIL is name and likeness, Gilbert. Now you said
it's name, image, and likeness.
Name, image, and likeness. Thank you. And you were saying that this conversation has been around for 15 years. I just heard of it like in 2019 when Governor Newsom talked about it. So this has been an ongoing conversation for how long?
Actually, if people in LA remember Ed O'Bannon from UCLA basketball. He was one of the primary players that helped them win a championship back in the early 90s. All of the student athletes that are able to take advantage of the opportunity that NIL and the NIL rule provides have him to thank. He started this train way back when he filed his lawsuit because he felt that he had a name, he had a following. They were selling jerseys with his name on the back, and he wasn't seeing any of it, right? And he recognized at a young age that wasn't fair.
Yeah.
And so he started this whole train. He said that student athletes should be able to profit off of their own name, after their own image, off of their own likeness, and they should also take a share in the revenue that these universities are generating. And this is back in the 90s when the media rights deals weren't close to what they are now. And so now it's even more important. It's even more of an issue because, again, there's more money, more wealth that is being shielded from our young student athletes.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I noticed very early on as a financial professional was that the agents and the financial professionals that target athletes, they were a completely different group than what I was accustomed to. Like very kind of predatorial, very different, very different. And it was it's very interesting too. I've read a lot on my journey of really understanding systemic racism and wealth. I read a lot of books about money, everything from how the FDIC was started to the first collapse of Freedmen's Bank, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, for non-Black neighborhoods, if a bank was in a neighborhood, in a non-Black neighborhood, and it was not helping the people in that neighborhood create wealth, that bank got in trouble. Like the government got that bank in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like it was the bank's job to create wealth.
Right.
But somehow financial professionals that deal with these athletes have had situation after situation happen where these athletes are not creating wealth. They're not coming out okay financially, but nobody's done anything. Like
Right.
it's like common. Oh, well, and they make jokes about it. NFL stands for not for long. They're not going to be an athlete, like versus saying, what's the problem? These people are making this money and they're not creating wealth because the people that are supposed to help them create wealth aren't doing their job.
Right.
And the agents. Yeah.
Right. And so it becomes incumbent upon the community, folks like you, and your colleagues. I mean, it has to be someone, right? So someone needs to step up, provide the education. I'm trying to provide education on the platform that I have on with respect to NIL. And so I'm trying to do my small part, but everyone needs to also be able to participate and help steer the ship, because this can't continue generation after generation after generation. And now the stakes are so high that it really creates a motivation for all of us to be involved in making sure that education is provided and the word spread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think absolutely. We all have to do our part, and that includes everyone here. Someone named Michael is like, I'm sorry I'm late, I forgot, but I'm here. Well, thank you for joining us, Michael. We appreciate you. So one of the other realities is the NIL agents, if they don't have good intentions, they can end up being the same as the financial professionals. So because your area is so new, I would imagine there's not a lot of regulation. For example, business managers in Los Angeles. You've heard of business managers. They're they only exist in the dimension of entertainment.
Oh yeah.
When the world,
a lot of entertainers, so
they literally only exist in your dimension. Everybody else is just a regular CPA, lawyer, and financial professional. But in the entertainment world, y'all got business managers. Right. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting about them is that there was no regulatory agency for them. There was no responsibility, not for real. So when there's a lack of responsibility, Mr. McGriff, we're usually at the bottom of the who's going to have some sort of reciprocity or repercussions for harming us. So what's the best way to research an NIL agent? What can people do to figure out if a person is credible? Like, what's the checks and balances? How do you check and balance,
Sure.
you guys?
Sure. So in California, a person has to be licensed to be an agent. So there is a licensure standard. There's something that they have to go through to become an agent. And what they did is, even though NIL is new, they just put it right under the sports agent structure and framework that is already in place.
Oh,
NBA and NFL agents who live in California have been registered and licensed for years.
oh, yes.
NIL agents now have to be licensed. Now, just because they get the license, it's just filling out an application, a fee, proving malpractice insurance.
No test.
You'll get a license. Not to be a licensed agent. Now, to be an NFL or an NBA agent, sure, you have to take a test. So it's not, and from my understanding, I mean, I'm not an agent myself. I'm an attorney. My understanding is that the agent world in California is not really well regulated. It's not like us as attorneys. The state bar is no joke. They will, if you step out of line, you will be corrected. I imagine the medical board is the same way. Agents don't have that same oversight, and so it can get tricky. I've seen agents put deals in front of clients where they're taking up to 50% of the revenue, which should be a crime in my book.
Is that allowed?
So that's the thing. In NIL, there isn't a percentage. For talent agents, if there's an agent who's representing a writer or an actor or something like that, it stops at 10%. But for NIL, there isn't any kind of ceiling.
Why? Why would that not be? Why wouldn't that be established at the beginning?
It's a new thing.
But it's a new thing that mimics an old thing.
So it mimics it, but there's no union in place. Like writers have unions, directors, producers have unions. It's the same thing with being a manager of a musician. Managers aren't regulated, so I've seen managers take 50% of their clients' revenue. It's crazy, but it happens. It shouldn't be any more than 20%, really. And I advise my clients to not do anything over 15%. I mean, that seems to be the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, a standard kind of evolves as things do, and 15% became the standard.
So you're not an actual NIL agent. You're an attorney, and you can see that area just from an objective standpoint.
Well, I negotiate the deals. I advise clients on deals. It's just that I don't go out and get the deals.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is if a student athlete is at a certain level of exposure, they maybe been a 5-star athlete coming out of high school, and so there's agencies that are interested in representing them. Maybe they have a big social media presence, something like that. They'll get an agent at one of the larger agencies, CAA, Rock Nation, Clutch, whatever you may have, and then. But the vast majority don't have an agent. And so it's like big agent. Sometimes there's a medium-sized agent, a small agent, and then most student athletes don't have anybody. So they're out there hustling for themselves. Okay. They're contacting brand partners. They're identifying companies and people who already support their university or their program, and they are just hitting them up for opportunities. They're hitting up like the local restaurant that's near the campus that they eat at.
I saw that.
Right, and they're like, I really like eating here. Can we do a collaboration? I shout out your restaurant. You give me some free meals, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things where I will review the contract. I'll advise them whether they should take it, ask for more. Really, I pay attention to the language because these brand partners, they really don't know what they're doing either, and so those put a contract in front of them, not even being malicious, but it'll say that like. They have the right to their image in perpetuity. So for the rest of the person's life, the brand partner has the right to put their face on something. And that's obviously that's not even common sense, right? But I've seen it. I've seen it many, many times. So that's why you need somebody who knows what they're doing looking at these contracts so you don't sign something that, giving away your firstborn.
Yeah, got it. Now, what in terms of the NIL agents and all that good stuff, what percentage are you seeing? Like, are you seeing a good amount of, are you seeing diversity in it? Are you seeing a lack of diversity? Or is it just so hidden people don't even know how to find someone good, so these kids have to do it themselves? What are you seeing?
So it's I mean, amongst the larger agencies, there's historically been a lack of diversity. That has changed a little bit. I mean, LeBron and Rich Paul have changed things with Clutch.
Oh, is that LeBron's agency?
Yes.
I didn't know that. And so my background is I was in entertainment when I was in my early 20s. I was a model for about 10 years. And when you said Clutch, I was like, don't know who that is.
Yes, it's a recent agency. Yeah, it's a recent
agency. That's awesome.
Yep. And so that's actually, again, it's inspired other folks from our community, young guys and women that are coming up to become agents too, right? You need that inspiration.
Good.
So I think that that's helped put a dent in the lack of diversity. But, I was talking to someone earlier today. What's interesting is that as soon as this NIL thing started, all of these people jumped into the space whether they're, tech people that are putting together apps for infrastructure, clearing houses, things of that nature, and none of them look like us. So,
right. Yeah, tech is that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's still something that where it's an uphill climb.
Yeah. That's so Clutch is creating so they actually have NIL agents at Clutch.
Yes.
Wow.
And in fact, all of the WME, CAA, Rock Nation, they all have divisions.
With Clutch?
No, they all have divisions of NIL.
Oh, okay, got it. I was like, how did they? What?
Yeah. Because the idea, because the idea is that they get someone that is as a college player, and then they continue to represent them as a
celebrity and as an athlete. Right. That makes sense, because if they're doing that well, they'll have that space. Now, what do you see? Women's basketball was an area that a lot of us were not paying attention to, and now I think a lot of people are like, "Ooh, what's going on there? Maybe we need to watch that a little bit more." What do you see as being the impact of the LSU games that just recently happened, the championship?
Yeah, I've always been a big fan. I'm a basketball fan in general. And so I've watched women's college basketball for years, and I've seen the growth of it. We had Brittany Griner a few years ago when she won a championship at Baylor, and then she had a lot of eyeballs on her. Mm-hmm. It seems like more and more it just keeps growing. And then there year over year has been growth every year. And this year in particular, this year in particular, you had a great matchup. You had this Iowa against LSU. You had these clash. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, like these, it's two diametrically opposed. It's like reminding me of Magic and Bird back in the 80s, right? So there was that dynamic going on that had a lot of eyeballs on it. And what I'm hoping is that this is just another stepping stone to more and more growth in women's basketball.
Yeah, the transforming the college world, the sports world. It seems like everything in America, huh? Seems hard because it's the foundation of the university experience, and the minds that control the university are so anti-Black. They really are. And you can just look at the numbers and the 1+1 and see where they've been in neighborhoods where they've been underpaying people, where they're really kind of sucking the life out of neighborhoods and not contributing anything, but meanwhile raising the taxes of neighborhoods like the USC neighborhood, and then also creating these fences and gates around their area where they're then policing the neighborhoods with their own private policing department. Mm-hmm. And there's organizations that are trying to transform the universities in that regard. But then the college stuff, the college sports stuff is like a whole nother bag of worms. What do you it just seems so it just seems like there are going to be experts in that space. One of the problems with it is that there's a time and out period, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
People are in college for a finite amount of time, and because that time is so short, they might not give what needs to be given so that they can transform it for the next generation. But that's one of the things that happen with modeling. Models, we
Mhm.
have such a short lifespan that it's hard to create a model union, because not only do we have a short lifespan, but we're young and immature and we're not focused
Yeah. Yeah.
as a group, right? And I would imagine athletes are similar to that. So what is a way, you were saying earlier, the community, what can the community do to help transform that? And I agree with you. I think America changes from the bottom up.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, to your point about the universities, I mean, traditional PWIs were founded on racist principles. We know that, and
Yes.
created a need for the HBCUs. But the thing about you're talking about unions. So, for example, the NFLPA, the union for NFL players, the average NFL life is 3.5 years. So that it very much goes to your point about how people have a very short window, and they're like, I got to get mine, because in any given time I could blow my knee out and contracts aren't guaranteed and all like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have that NFLPA, which is the president is typically a former player. It's not right now, but it's someone who is experienced in that business, experienced in seeing contracts and trends and so forth. If college athletes were to similarly unionize, they would need someone similarly situated, preferably a former college athlete, maybe a former athletic director at a university, something like that. Someone who is really uniquely situated so that him or her knows the business and knows how they can relate. That's what's most important. How they can relate to the student athletes, so that they're actually listening, so they'll take guidance, so that they will understand what's at stake. And it's not just an I, it's a we situation. They all have to think collectively, and not think collectively in a way in where it's group think, but think collectively for the bigger goal.
Yeah. Would that be something that an organization could do? Perhaps a secret division of Clutch?
So I think it's one of those things where you're going to have to. It's going to be a trial by basis. So there's going to be perhaps some bumping of the heads and knees to get it to make it work. But I think it's more about a committee that's put together of people with the experience and the fortitude to lead these student athletes into the future.
Yeah, and so much wealth has been lost because of them not sharing with the people who actually are creating that wealth. I mean, so much wealth. Like, those athletes could have had money to help their families. They could have had money to buy a business for after college, to invest, to, who knows? But one of the things that happens in the financial world, not always, it doesn't always happen, but one of the things that happens sometimes is that the more people make, the more financially savvy they become out of necessity, right? They have to. And I wonder how many opportunities were lost like that.
Yes. It's interesting you mentioned that point, because Ricky Williams, who was a star at the University of Texas, who started running back and he went on to pros. He played for New Orleans Saints and a couple of other teams. He was asked his take on NIL, and at first he said, I think it's kind of dangerous because you're giving young people money and they don't know what to do with it. Maybe someone should put it in a trust on their behalf so that they can make sure it's there for them when they get out of college. But But he ended off by saying, I wish it was available when I was playing. And it wasn't just so he could make the money. It was so that he would better have a better understanding of how financial planning worked. He thinks that if he was given the opportunity early and was forced to look at his financial plate and how he's supposed to save and invest and so forth, it would have been better for him when he got to the professional level. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, no, I've seen it with people, you know, in my profession. I see it. I'll have a client who makes a lot more than they made the last year, and they're talking to me about taxes and entities and things. I'm like, what?
He wasn't talking about that last year.
They were not talking about that. I'm like, my goodness. So, and it happens time and time again. So I know that some of them will be lost in the sauce, but a lot of them would actually rise up and develop some curiosity and planning and all that good stuff because of the money, you know. And the universities, one of the Coach Mosley was saying how these kids get this money and they don't know what to do with it. Right. And I think that that's such a great opportunity for universities to actually stop being predatory for once and teach somebody something that they need to know. I'm being mean to universities. I do not mean to be that mean. Right. But you know, like, why are we talking about universities and they can't teach people how to manage their money? They can't have any of those board members, any of those donors come in and teach a, you know, off-book class about life lessons and how they did it and what, you know what I mean? And
you want to hear some? I don't mean to.
Yes, go ahead. Let me hear.
But do you want to hear something that's really infuriating?
What?
That the NCAA passed a law specifically saying that universities cannot provide NIL guidance, financial guidance, legal advice, anything like that. Yeah. So really, how much does the NCAA really care about these student athletes is the question, right? And the misguided rationale is they don't want to create an imbalance. So if one university got really good at it, then student athletes would want to play at that university as opposed to someone who's not doing a good job.
Not only do they not allow that education, but I try to speak to college athletes. I basically have to get like underground railroaded in.
Oh, that's true. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and you know, and there's fear, and there's all type of things there. So Gilbert was saying, talk about he says talk about systemic racism. Yeah, the NCAA is living, breathing. They're creating a system. Yeah. A system of ignorance, a system of creating these narratives that if the kids even get paid, then something's wrong. That's. So thank you. Is there anything else you think that we should know? You want to share? Anything that I might have missed? Anything? Just let us know. What are you thinking?
I think that one of the big importances of NIL is that not everybody is going to go on and play professional sports, right? It's a very small minority. And even the ones that do go on play professional sports, as I said, particularly football, they have short lifespans. So for a lot of athletes, this is their prime time to monetize the exposure that they're gaining from playing a sport in college.
Absolutely.
And so what it enables a person who actually goes out and says, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity, is it sets them up for later in life. Absolutely. It gives them the goals. It provides traits. It fosters entrepreneurship. Those are the things that they wouldn't necessarily have otherwise been exposed to. And so if they think of themselves as their own brand, they even form an LLC, and they're like, I'm running a company now. This is a company of me. And they go out and they're doing these deals. They're negotiating. They're reviewing contracts. These are all skills that are necessary in life. And so when they think about it, that NIL is not a 4-year thing, it's a 40-year thing. It can set you up for life. And so that's one of the main things I think is important about NIL.
I love that. Yeah. And I was thinking that as well. Like every college athlete won't be a professional, but if they can get compensated, this gives them a jump start,
That's right.
you know? Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize that they make it where you can't, they specifically say don't educate them.
That's right. You cannot provide those resources.
Mm-mm-mm. That is very interesting. Yeah. When I first started this conversation, it was I can't remember if it was 2019 or 2020, but before it was the Black Wealth series, I was like trying to just talk. I was actually aiming towards Black women.
Mhm.
And I called it the Underground Railroad because in the finance world, we actually can't give financial education either.
Great. What do you mean by that?
Like we can't, like in this environment, I can give you basic, but I can't give you, I can't go any deeper than what I'm doing.
I see.
So it's very kind of surfacey because, you know, the system is the system and education is a powerful thing. So in our world, the saying is if you give advice, if you talk and educate, it'd be considered advice.
Yeah. I don't know why people are so afraid of education. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is scary. They should be more afraid of ignorance. Well, thank you so much. We have, thank you, sir. We have Mr. McGriff's, I'm sorry, I think I missed the F. We have Mr. McGriff's website up at the top, you guys. Please keep it. And what's your Instagram? Where are you posting your videos and your education about NIL?
I'm posting it on at the NIL lawyer. And I also have at DMAC_Esquire. DMAC_ESQUIRE.
Okay. All right, you guys, follow him on Instagram and just keep it because at some point you never know who's going to have what cousin, what niece, what nephew will have some of these questions. And if he's giving this education, it's because he sees the value of it. So please share. And the next Black Wealth series is going to be about a mom whose son just got drafted to the NFL. And she's going and so she's going to be talking about the honest conversations she had to have with him just to get him through college, you know, without getting in trouble. Yeah. And it's very honest conversations because it's not, you know, they think a lot of people think that the good stuff happens accidentally. The good stuff is with intention. Yeah. It's the bad stuff that happens by default. So
absolutely correct. I have three sons, one in college, one who's a college athlete. I can't agree more.
So her and her husband at the time, they were very intentional. They were like, okay, I'm going to work from here. I'm not going to take these promotions so that I can be here. Like they were so intentional about making sure that these boys got into these programs, and they weren't doing it because they wanted to create athletes, Mr. McGriff. They just wanted school to be free. They didn't want they didn't want to have any more college debt because they were so annoyed with their own student loan debt. They're like, we're not having any college debt. We're going to give them into sports.
Even more now.
Yeah. So, and her son just got drafted maybe a year ago. So she's going to be talking about all of, and she has another one who looks like he's on his way to get drafted to the NFL as well. But, you know, these honest conversations are so important because right now there's a group of us, and I would say that they're younger, but some of them are in our, you know, in the X generation as well, where they don't want to acknowledge that racism exists. In their mind, it's something that's negative, not what's so. It's negative. So if you don't speak negative, then it doesn't exist. And so they're not having the right conversations, and it leads to things that could have been avoided.
Right.
You know, so Yeah. So you you with your kids in college, that is awesome. I would love to hear one day what conversations you have with them to keep them out of trouble.
They're the same ones that mom had with her son.
Girlfriend. Yeah, I'm sure too. And she got the other people who didn't have the conversations and how they got in trouble. So it was just left and right. And
Right.
everyone is saying thank you. This was fantastic. They're grateful. Sir, you've been a pleasure to listen and learn from. And thank you for your knowledge and insight.
Thank
So
you. Thank you very much.
thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Have a great one, everyone. Remember to come back next month at the top of the month, and then we're going to do a bonus at the end of June. So we're going to take July off, and hopefully we'll see you again. And I'm going to reach out to you because you and I can Underground Railroad our own services to everyone as well.
Agreed. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.